Now, I hope most of y'all know, since the Sunday after Easter, we've been looking at how Jesus, through his life, death, and resurrection, won victories over 6 different powers that can really control us. They can keep us sort of hog-tied, straitjacketed. And because he won these victories, we have the possibility of living new and different lives. For example, in the first message, we talked about how on the cross Jesus defeated sin, breaking its power over us and offering us the opportunity to live a life that's focused on God. And 2 weeks ago, we looked at how Jesus stood toe-to-toe with the devil out there in the wilderness and overcame his temptations, giving us an example that we can follow when we feel as though our faith is also being put to the test. And then last week, we had a really special service focusing on how Jesus was victorious over popular expectations. And so with the help of 3 people from the Striplight Theatre right across the street, we had a service that presented the good news of Jesus in an unexpected way. Now, that's what we've done over the last 3 weeks, and if you want to hear either the messages or the entire services, just go to the Cove Community blog. The address is right in your bulletins. And this morning, we're going to continue the series by considering how Jesus won a victory over culture. And in particular, the values that were often encouraged within his society and also within ours. And I'll tell you, I think that's appropriate. I think it's appropriate that we're doing it on this Sunday when we're recognizing the Girl Scouts that meet in our church every Tuesday evening. Now, I'll tell you, if you want to see some energy, some activity going on, just come Tuesday evening. My goodness gracious. In other words, I think it works out well that they're here this morning. And I'll tell you why. Right at the beginning of the service, we heard the Girl Scouts give their pledge, didn't we? On my honor, I will try to serve God and my country, to help people at all times, and to live by the Girl Scout law. Now, that's what they said. And yesterday, I looked up the Girl Scout law. And this is what it said. I will do my best to be honest and fair. Pretty good. Friendly and helpful, considerate and caring, courageous and strong, and responsible for what I say and do, and to respect myself and respect authority. Use resources wisely, make the world a better place, and be a sister to every Girl Scout. In other words, the Girl Scouts are grounded on these principles, on these values. That's really what they're all about. And when you think about it, they sure seem to be a lot different from the values promoted within our society, within our culture. I mean, being honest and fair and respecting yourself and others and making the entire world a better place, I mean, give me a break. Those aren't exactly the values that our culture emphasizes, now is it? Now, it may have been different in the past, and there may be pockets of it all around, but I think we'd be pretty hard-pressed to make the case that they're the kind of things that we value most today. For example, I think we're way more about self-sufficiency than any kind of trust and cooperation. Let's face it, as a country and as a congregation, and even as individual American Christians, I think most folks believe we should be able to get it done without the help of others. We do not need others to be successful. We should be able to do it on our own. And those who can and do, they're the ones who get our praise and respect. People should be self-sufficient. That's one thing we value. Just like we want immediate gratification. I mean, we're like Wednesday, little Wednesday in the movie The Addams Family. I love this scene. She asks Fester to pass her the salt. And her mother, Morticia, says to her daughter, now what's the magic word? And Wednesday says, now. Man, that's the kind of world in which we live, isn't it? Lord, give me patience and give it to me when? Now. Immediate gratification is something else we value. Just like we value material success. The one who dies with the most toys wins, right? Of course, I recognize that we Christians don't like to recognize that this cultural value affects us. We don't like it. It makes us sound bad. My goodness, we've given God everything, right? Or so we say. I mean, we have given him our lives, right? And we've given him our hearts. And we've given him even our children. I love churches who say, we don't believe in baptism. We're not going to baptize kids. But parents should dedicate their kids. Give their kids over to God. Well, that sounds wonderful, right? It sounds spiritual as all get out. But let me ask you, what does giving God this stuff really mean? And maybe more important than that, how do you actually do it? I don't know about you, but I think it is a whole lot easier giving God my life or my heart or my daughter, knowing that he's probably not going to collect anytime soon. I mean, I'm not doing what Hannah did with little Samuel and leaving him at the temple. It's a whole lot easier giving God this intangible stuff than actually giving him my car or my television or my cell phone. And I haven't even mentioned what Jesus said to the rich young man, a passage that we know but we don't like to apply. If you want to be perfect, go sell everything you own, give the money to the poor, and you will have riches in heaven. Then come and be my followers. Man, let's get real. Not only are we not going to do that, and we're not, I'm sure that given a little time, we can come up with all kinds of spiritual sounding reasons why we shouldn't. But I know for me, the real reason I'm not boxing up my television and taking it to Goodwill is that I just plain value material success. I value stuff. And along with self-sufficiency and immediate gratification, I think these are three values held by folks shaped by our culture. But of course, they're not values promoted by Jesus, and in this way, he continues to be victorious over culture. And even though I think you could point to a whole lot of specific values shown by Christ, for me they seem to come down to three that were listed by the Apostle Paul and that sort of cover what Jesus taught and how he lived. Just listen to what Paul wrote to the Corinthians. He said, "When we were children, we thought and reasoned as children do. But when we grew up, we quit our childish ways. Now all we can see of God is like a cloudy picture in a mirror. Later we will see him face to face. We don't know everything, but then we will, just as God completely understands us. For now there are faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." Now, that's what Paul wrote, and I think those three values kind of sum up what Jesus taught and how he lived. For example, he certainly taught about the importance of faith, and I'm talking about trusting and believing. I mean, just listen to what Jesus said to his disciples right before the crucifixion. In a loud voice, Jesus said, "Everyone who has faith in me also has faith in the one who sent me. And everyone who has seen me has seen the one who sent me. I am the light that is come into the world. No one who has faith in me will stay in the dark." And a little later, "Have faith in me when I say that the Father is one with me and I am one with the Father. Or else have faith in me simply because of the things I do. I tell you for certain that if you have faith in me, you will do the same things that I'm doing. You will do even greater things now than I am doing because I'm going to the Father. Ask me and I will do whatever you ask. This way the Son will bring honor to the Father." Jesus valued faith. And as to hope, by his life, Jesus fulfilled the hopes of the people. Let me give you a couple of examples. When he entered Jerusalem riding on a donkey with all the crowds and palms, right there he fulfilled the hope expressed by Zechariah when he wrote, "Everyone in Jerusalem celebrate and shout. Your king has won a victory and he is coming to you. He is humble and rides on a donkey. He comes on the colt of a donkey." And when he died on the cross to free us from the power of sin, he did what Isaiah hoped would happen when he wrote, "He was wounded and crushed because of our sins. By taking our punishment, he made us completely well. All of us were like sheep that had wandered off. We had each gone our own way, but the Lord gave him the punishment we deserved. He was condemned to death without a fair trial. Who could have imagined what would happen to him? His life was taken away because of the sinful things my people had done. The Lord will reward him with honor and power for sacrificing his life. Others thought he was a sinner, but he suffered for our sins and asked God to forgive us." You see, Jesus' whole life was about hope. And love, I'm telling you, love is everywhere in his teachings. Sometimes it's a command, like when he said, "My children, I will be with you for a little while longer. Then you will look for me, but you won't find me. I tell you, just as I told the people, you cannot go where I am going. But I'm giving you a new command. You must love each other, just as I have loved you. If you love each other, everyone will know that you are my disciples." And sometimes it's in a prayer. Like when he prayed, "I have honored my followers in the same way that you honored me, in order that they may be one with each other, just as we are one. I am one with them and you are one with me, so that they may be completely one. Then this world's people will know that you sent me. They will know that you love my followers as much as you love me." I'll tell you, if you wanted to summarize the values that shaped what Jesus taught and did, I think you couldn't get much better than the words faith, hope, and love. And even though they aren't exactly the principles our society seems to value most, remember, Jesus is greater than our culture. He established a new set of values, and because of that, we can claim them in our own lives, and we can do it right now. I mean, first, we can decide to live lives of faith, trusting that God loved us before he laid the foundation of the universe, and that he holds us and our destiny in his gracious and loving hands, and that right this minute, right now, he is present with us, flowing through and around us all the time. But more than that, we can also become people, the kind of people whom others trust. And I'm talking about folks who are honest and sincere and authentic in both our words and our work. In other words, we can live faith-directed lives. That's one. And second, through what we say and do, we can also reflect hope. You see, we can take away from the fear and the dread that seem to have infested our society. I mean, give me a break. People seem to be worried all the time and afraid of the future. And instead, we can look toward the future, look toward what's coming with confidence and peace, trusting that God is still in control. And we can share the reason for our hope with those who've bought into this negativity that seems to be everywhere. Simply put, we can start living hope-filled lives, and that's two. And third, we can decide that love, and I'm talking about love that's intentional and love that's practical. We can decide that love is going to be our guide. And we're going to direct it to God with all our heart and mind and strength, and we're going to love others with the same intensity with which we love ourselves. And even though plenty of our friends and neighbors won't understand what we're doing, in fact, a lot of them will probably accuse us of being weak or naive, we can decide to live love-oriented lives, and that's three. Now, I doubt that our culture is going to change a whole lot in the near future. Personally, I believe Americans will probably always value self-sufficiency and immediate gratification and material success. That's the way it is and probably will continue to be. But that doesn't have to apply to us, because remember, Jesus was victorious over all human cultures and all things that they value. And for that reason, we can live new lives by claiming for ourselves those ideas that he valued. And we can begin to live lives that are faith-directed and hope-filled and love-oriented. Amen.